Ready? Start. Our foreign exchange reserves have been rebuilt to about rupees 10,000 crores. Non-resident Indians are no longer withdrawing their deposits. We have successfully concluded arrangements with multilateral financing institutions such as the IMF, the World Bank, and the Asian Development Bank to obtain quick disbursing funds to support the balance of payments in the current year. Our ability to fight inflation has been considerably enhanced by the improvement in our foreign exchange reserves. This has enabled us to relax the restrictions imposed last year on imports, thus ensuring near normal availability of essential imports in the months ahead. This will help production and ease inflationary pressure. The comfortable reserves position has also given the government greater flexibility to finance additional imports of essential items to deal with shortage and break inflationary expectations. The government will remain fully vigilant on the prices front and will use the public distribution system to counter inflation and in particular to protect the poorer sections of the population from high prices and shortages. The Prime Minister announced on 1st January this year the launching of the revamped public distribution system in about 1700 of the most backward blocks of the country. We are determined to ensure that food grains and essential commodities reach the poor and the underprivileged in adequate quantities and at affordable prices. Next to inflation, our major problem in the short term is the management of the balance of payments. We have averted collapse and gained some flexibility, but a sustained improvement in our external payments position requires much more. Our export earnings have suffered badly this year, mainly because of the disruption of trade with the former Soviet Union and also because of recessionary conditions. We have not been able to finance our normal import requirements. There are some of who argue that all we need to do to solve our balance of payments problem is to compress our imports. I would like to point out that import compression has already been carried to the extreme, and any further compression can only be at the cost of both growth and employment. Imports of non-essential consumer goods should certainly continue to be discouraged. However, we must recognize that the only lasting solution to our balance of payment problem lies not in compressing imports but in a rapid expansion of exports. A growing economy needs a growing import of fuel and other industrial inputs. One of the reasons why foreign exchange is diverted to illegal channels is the illegal import of gold. It is time we took a bold step to recognize the realities of the situation and legalize the import of gold. Government proposed to allow returning Indians and NRIs to import 5 kg of gold per passenger with a modest import duty, provided the gold as well as the import duty is financed from foreign exchange earned abroad. Many honorable members of this house have suggested that the government should introduce a gold bond which would help to mobilize the idle gold resources of ordinary citizens to supplement official reserves. I had indicated in Parliament that this should be considered only when the balance of payment situation improves and adequate confidence has been built in the capacity of the government to manage the economy. This has now been achieved. Our reserves are large and do not need supplementing, but I see no reason why patriotic citizens should be denied the opportunity to contribute their mite to the development of India's economy. I propose to introduce a scheme under which citizens can obtain a gold bond in return for gold. The bond would be for a period of 5 to 7 years and would be liquidated by return of gold or equivalent value at the option of the holder. It would enjoy a small interest which will not attract income tax. The bonds will also be free to wealth tax and gift tax. As an added incentive, holders of such bonds will not be asked any questions about the source of the gold holding. The Reserve Bank of India is preparing a detailed proposal along these lines. One of the initiatives of the new industrial policy is a new approach towards foreign investment which can play a vital role in upgrading our technology levels, integrating our industry into the global economy and bringing in non-debt resources. The government proposes to actively encourage foreign investment in critical infrastructure sectors where capacities are inadequate and needs for investment are large. A policy to encourage private investment in critical foreign investment in the power sector has already been announced. Another area which is critical for our future development and for management of the balance payment is the hydrocarbon sector. Government has already announced that joint ventures will be permitted in both exploration and development, including development of existing fields. The government will welcome proposals for private investment, including foreign investment. This will go a long way in meeting our need for development infrastructure in the economy for rapid economic development. Our small scale industries employ 14 million workers and account for 40% of our total manufacturing output and 35% of our export. This dynamic sector must be strengthened and assisted to better serve the goals of growth, employment generation and self-reliance through exports. A technology development and modernization fund will be established in the Small Industries Development Bank to provide financial assistance to quality projects aimed at strengthening the export capability of small scale industries. The initial amount earmarked for this fund will be rupees 200 crores. The financial assistance, which would be directly provided by SIDBI to eligible small scale units, can take the form of either loans or equity. A national equity fund scheme was established in 1987 to provide equity assistance to tiny small scale units with projects of less than rupees 10 lakhs and located in places with a population not exceeding 5 lakhs. I propose to extend the national equity fund scheme to all tiny small scale units irrespective of their location except of units in metropolitan areas. Furthermore, the scope of this scheme will be enlarged to cover expansion, modernization, technology, upgradation and diversification. The scheme, which is managed by SIDBI, will continue to be funded by the central government and SIDBI on 50-50 basis. Adequate availability of credit from the banking system is critical for the small sector. The government, in consultation with banks, has formulated a 7-point action plan for improving the flow of credit to this sector. A key feature for the plan is the setting up of specialized bank branches to serve the needs of small scale units in 85 identified districts, each with more than 2,000 registered small scale units. Public sector banks will ensure that such dedicated branches are operational before the end of 1995-96. The north-eastern region of our country merits a special attention with a view to accelerating industrial development. A new Northeastern Development Bank is being established to finance creation, expansion and modernization of industrial enterprises and infrastructure projects in the region. The bank will be located within the region. It will have an authorized capital of rupees 500 crore. Initial contributions to capital will be provided by all Indian financial institutions. In addition to these measures for enhancing income earning opportunities for the weaker sections of our society, I am pleased to announce 4 far-reaching programs for the general welfare of the poor, especially in rural areas. The first program addresses the serious deficiency in housing facilities for the rural poor. As honorable members are aware, there is a major ongoing rural housing program, the Indira Awas Yojana. About 4 lakh dwellings units are expected to be provided on a subsidized basis in 2004-5 to scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and freed bonded laborers. For 2005-6, the housing target is being more than double to 10 lakh units. With this initiative, we will be able to build 50 lakh rural dwellings units in the next 5 years. This will go a long way towards solving the critical shortage for basic shelter among rural poor. The greatest hardships among the poor are often suffered by the old and the weak, most of whom are unemployable. To soften the hardship in their twilight year, a national social assistance scheme has been proposed to cover the poor and needy. One component on the scheme is the provision of a national minimum old age pension of rupees 75 per month to people above 65 years of age who are below the poverty line. A second component provides lump sum survivor benefits to poor households on the death of primary bread earner of rupees 5,000. The third component aims at provision of sustenance for prenatal and postnatal maternity care to women belonging to poor households for the first 2 births. The scheme will eventually cover about 14 million needy beneficiaries from households below the poverty line. 3/4 of the beneficiaries are likely to be women needing assistance on account of old age, without widowhood and maternity. The scheme, to be funded jointly by the center and the states, will be implemented by the states through Panchayati Raj institutions. Stop.